All right, let's get back to where we were. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna put our date here. So this is the day that we are accepting these bylaws, the terms and conditions, the provisions, the indenture, okay? So go ahead and put today's date if that's what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and put December 12th here, 2023, 12. 2023. Okay. So next I'm going to put, and so it's going to require the grantor's information. So go ahead and put your grantor here. All right, and then this is where the first trustee is signing this indenture and accepting on behalf of the board the properties that are given, as well as the terms, the conditions, the provisions of the bylaws, any type of resolutions, which is board meetings that may come up in the future in this governing instrument. Okay, so this is the real deal. So you're gonna go ahead and put your name there as the founder trustee. Okay, so you're going to put your name up here as well. Let me do some copying and pasting. I want to be fancy. All right, so you have documented the grantor's information, the trustee's information. Perfect. So now this is the notary section. So yesterday we learned that you are going to put the state and county where you're getting it notarized, not where you're setting it up, right? So I've had clients to where they set up their trust in California, but they got it notarized in Georgia. They set it up in, in one county in Florida, but they notarized it in another county, in the same state. So that's the important part, is to have the most correct information here. If you don't know what county you're going to get it notarized, then just leave this part blank. I would put a line here so that you could actually write it in or fill it out, okay? So that's that. And then we'll put our state here. So I'm going to put state of Florida. All right, so this is all done. And I'm going to turn this black and go to the next section. So now the next section is the Schedule A. Okay, so that is the first schedule within the trust. Okay, so this is outside of the indenture. This is not a part of the indenture. Okay, there's no provisions here. There's no bylaws here or anything. Okay, so anything outside of this notary section is a part of the trust, but it's not the actual trust, okay? So the Schedule A is where the grantor is agreeing that they have set up the indenture and hereby they want to convey this property into the trust, okay? So this is what we are labeling as our consideration or our initial corpus, okay? So what are you going to put inside of the trust? So go ahead and put the name of the trust. Hmm. And then legacy. And then your consideration. So for my consideration, it's going to be literally a $1 bill. I love it. Okay. I'm just going to give $1 and that's it. So now, because it has intrinsic value, does it not? And so what's going to happen is that following property, that $1 bill is going to be in exchange for 100 units of beneficial interest or TCUs. Okay. And or anything that's equivalent to that, okay? So this is what we consider the consideration that's provided by the grantor for this indenture or contract, okay? So now what you're gonna do is you're going to provide the names of the grantor and the trustee, and then fill out the notary section, okay? And then we're going to move on to the second page of the Schedule A. So now that we're done here, what we're going to do is we're going to put our state and the county. So my county is, and you can do it a couple different ways, Dade County. All right, so now this looks correct, turning it black, going on to the next page, which is where we are requesting how the trust certificate units that was just created on the Schedule A, how they're going to be dispersed, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is put the name of the trust. And then we're going to put the address. So go ahead and put your virtual address or your PO box there. And then now we're going to put the distribution, okay? So remember the amount of TCUs, one, it cannot be fractionalized, okay? So you can't put 50.5 TCUs is going to go to Rebecca. No. So they have to be whole numbers, okay? Two, however many TCUs that you're dispersing, just know that's equivalent to beneficial interest or ownership in the trust, okay? So let's just say that I have three beneficiaries. So I'm gonna do, so obviously it's not gonna be equal, right? So I'm gonna do 34% to John Alex, 33 not percent, but 33 TCUs to Mary Ann, and then 33 TCUs to Rebecca Joy of the family Doe. All right. So that is how you want to document the distribution of your TCUs, okay? And then the grantor is going to put his or her name here and sign, and it's going to be notarized and set in stone that those TCUs are due to be dispersed in that manner, okay? So go ahead and put the county and state information, and then turn it black if everything looks correct, and then we'll move on to the next section. So this all looks great. Now we're moving on to the Schedule B. So the Schedule B is where we're naming all the property in the trust, okay? So the first thing that I'm putting here is my primary residence, okay? So this is my primary residence. And I'm just going to put the physical address there. Okay. So the next thing that I do is I'm going to put my insurance policy. Okay. So I'm going to put the uh, policy number, the carrier. So mine is with Emeritus, and then the insured. So I am the insured, and then my policy number is a bunch of digits, okay? So that is obviously an asset. So now I have two assets in there. Let's do a car. So you want to put the make, the model, and the VIN number, okay? So you go ahead and put your VIN number here, and then what is my make? Okay, we got a Mercedes here. Is that how you spell it? I don't know. And that's it, right? G wagon, right? So that's what we have here. So now these are our assets and we're all done, right? So now what we need to do is we have to do the legal stuff too. So it's not enough for you to just put the asset, for you to just do some simple little typing and put it into the Schedule B. That's not enough. You actually have to do the legal transfer with your county or your state or your city for these assets. That house is registered in a county. You need to go down to the county and record a new deed. That insurance policy is registered. It has an owner. That owner is usually you with that company. So you need to contact that company and get a ownership transfer form. That vehicle is registered with the DMV for your state. So you need to contact the DMV with the state to do a bill of sale to transfer the title from your personal name into the trust, okay? So this is not the end all be all. This is just us putting a little pretty list together of what's inside so that we know, what, so that we can, one, keep account of our assets, and then two, we're able to understand and know what our financial status is or net worth, okay? So now what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to put the beneficiary contact information on the Schedule C. So we know that the beneficiaries, they're natural persons, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put their name and their date of birth, okay? So here I'm going to put John Alex, right? That's my beneficiary. And I'm going to put date of birth and then whatever John Alex date of birth is, right? So we'll just give him a birthday of January 12th, 2000. All right. And so now we're going to do the same thing for all of our beneficiaries, right? So then we got Marianne and we got, who's the next one? Rebecca Joy. All right. So put all of your beneficiaries there. And then after that, put their date of birth and then that's it. And so sometimes you might want to be a little bit more specific. You can add like the end of their social, you can add their phone number, things like that. But basically the minimum is, full name, okay? Full name and date of birth, okay? So, and now we're going to go to the Schedule D. So in the Schedule D, what we're going to do is, this is the memorandum of personal property, right? So just like with the will, how you have your wish list of how I want these properties to be disposed of, you're going to put your wish list here, okay? So what you're going to do is I'm going to go up to this asset right here. So I have this property, okay? And so now what I'm going to, on the top, I'm going to list the name of the trust, the address, and if that's all correct, then we'll turn that black and we'll fill in this section here. All right, so under personal property, go ahead and list the personal property. So I have a house here and you can either list the beneficiary that it's going to go to, or and then you also want to put a percentage too. So I'm going to do 50% to John Alex, and then I'm going to do 50% to Marianne. All right. And then I have in insurance policy. So in the event that the trust is terminated, then the trustee is going to have to change the ownership from the trust to whoever is going to be the new owner and beneficiary. So you can go ahead and put that policy there, emeritus, and then you can put who's going to get it. So I'm going to put 100% is going to go to Rebecca Joy. All right. And then the same thing goes with the vehicle. Okay. So this is your wish list, and this is what you're going to want to do if you're putting assets into your family trust, and you want those assets to be dispersed to them when the trust is terminated. But the goal is not for the trust to be terminated. So, but you still need to do it, just in case, you never know. So now let's move on to the certificate of trust, okay? So for the certificate of trust, what we have here is this is the proof of identification for the trust, okay? So we are going to provide the name and when it was created, and then we're documenting that this is a certificate of trust that summarizes for the purpose of funding assets into the trust or requiring any type of identification for the trust, okay? So here is where we have, a summary of pretty much the entire estate, okay? So go ahead and put the name of the trust, family legacy. All right, the day was established, so we're putting today's date, December 12th. My gosh, today is The 12th. Wow. And then, so we're done with that section. So now we're going to document the grantors. Okay. So who is the grantor? So the grantor of the trust is, and then we know my famous uncle, John Doe, and then the trustee. So who is the acting trustee, right? So yesterday, what I told you guys was that if you have multiple trustees, you list all trustees. If somebody resigns, then you need to do a new current certificate of trust, okay? So it needs to be current. So the day that it's notarized doesn't matter because we're going based off of the establishment date, okay? Which is what we call like the day that it was funded, okay? So now we're going to put the address. So go ahead and put the address of the trust. And then the trust is irrevocable. So we know that the grantor doesn't have any power to revoke or amend during his or her lifetime. Number 6, we're going to put the EIN number. Okay, so when we apply for the EIN number for this particular trust on Friday, then we'll go ahead and put that. Okay, so I'm just going to put a placeholder here. So usually it's a 9-digit number. Next, on number 7, declaration regarding the trust. So the trust is in effect as of the date of the certificate, okay? So you're not going to execute a certificate of trust without having a trust. So it is obvious that there's a trust that exists prior to you actually executing this instrument. All right. Number 8, trustee powers. So we are putting on the Schedule A of the certificate of trust, which is the second page outside of this instrument. So right here, certificate of trust, Schedule A, trustee powers, okay? So here is 2 pages which list the trustee powers. And then number 9 is waiver of claims. So the grantor and trustee waive any action against any person or organization that relies on the certificate of trust, and they shall be held harmless for any resulting in loss or liability, okay? So for example, if you go to the dealership and you're going to go purchase a vehicle under the trust and you provide them with the certificate of trust and it has outdated information, you can't hold the dealership liable for being misinformed because you're the one who did it, okay? Number 10 is validity of copies of the certificate. So if you're providing this certificate to the dealership, they're going to take a copy of it and they're going to send it to either their financial department, their legal department, or their headquarters. And those departments need to consider this copy as an original certified copy, okay? And then the actions by the trustee, we understand that all the trustees that are listed here in the certificate of trust are able to operate independently and they don't need a cosigner or anything like that, okay? So then what we're going to do is we're going to put the name of the grantor, John Doe, and then we're going to put the name of the trustee. So I'm going to put my name as the first trustee. So Christina Yvette. And then we're going to put, so now this is the notary section. So in this section, we're just going to put the state where you're getting it notarized and the county where you're getting it notarized, okay? And this section here, sworn before me, that is going to be filled out by the notary and they're going to sign and stamp, okay? So we're all done with this certificate of trust. So the certificate of trust is literally 1 page. That's notarized. That is the legal instrument. And then this second page is a supporting document. So this is just letting the individuals or the third parties or the financial institutions know what the trustee powers are. So if you're going to go open up a bank account, well, they're going to want to know, hey, do you have the power to do so? And so then you have the ability to provide proof that you do, right? Because here's the trustee powers. And then we're just going to go down to this section here, number F, where it says to open, maintain, or close bank accounts. So there's nothing that the bank can say to you because it's in writing. You have proof, okay? So the last thing we're going to do is administration contact information. And you can add to this. So for example, if you have a secretary, then you're going to want to put the secretary's information here. So go ahead and put the secretary's information, the treasurer's information, the protector's information, any co-trustees. If you have multiple co-trustees, then go ahead and put all co-trustees. One of my students, there's like 4 or 5 trustees. All of them are there, right? So the successor information, right? This is the most important. So you want to put your successor information, their address, their phone number, right? Because in the event that you become incapacitated, guess what? The board of trustees needs to contact the successor, okay? So if all of this looks correct, then we're going to go ahead and turn that black. And then we are all done setting up our family trust, okay? So now what I'm going to do is open up the floor for questions.
I noticed that my version, at least, of this document it's missing some updates.
Yeah.
Wondering if I can get a updated version just so I can make the changes to what I'm missing here on this document.
What are you missing? Is it the last page? Because it's in the email. Did you receive the email?
I did, but I don't. Let's see here. Is
Only
this
other thing was the address you might have to add in on the
On the certificate of trust, you can add the
correct.
address.
schedule? Maybe I'm just drawing a blank of what. Hold on.
Brian, do you mind if we come back to you?
That's fine.
All right, thank you. All right, Deontay, how are you?
I am doing good.
Awesome.
My question is as far as the state that you set your trust up in, like, do you have any insight on that? As far as I've been hearing a lot of things about like, setting up in like Wyoming or Delaware and things of that nature. Is that up? I mean, obviously it's at my discretion, but
So that is applicable for statutory entities. So
okay,
that's only if you're setting up a trust and you're going to register it with the state, then the state has state statutes and codes for the trust, but you are setting up a common law trust.
right. Not perfect.
Right.
And then my question is, obviously, this is like a strategy thing. I'm setting up, trust with my sister as well. She was on your call yesterday, and we're trying to distinguish between, setting up the grantor and not having it like overlap. So it is, what did you say? So like who could we use as the grantor without, it being a conflict of interest? Because like she's setting up a business trust, and then if I'm setting up a business trust, and then we're both on a family trust and could potentially open up more trust, we don't want to have the same grantor on any of those, correct? So I'm trying to get like, so
You
we're not,
can. You can have the same grantor.
so like if it was like, for instance, our mom or something, right? And it wouldn't cause any like breach of conflict of interest.
No, these are separate entities.
Okay, correct.
They're separate entities, and as long as those individuals are in the right position, then you're fine.
Right. And then if the grantor passes away or something of that nature, obviously the trustee has the right to make somebody else the grantor, correct? The new grantor.
No.
Okay. It doesn't
So,
matter.
so, so the grantor will always be the grantor if they are dead or alive. They will
Okay,
always be
cool.
the grantor because the trust was already established one time. You
Hmm.
established the trust today. If the grantor passes away in 10 years, that's still the grantor.
Okay,
The grantor
cool.
doesn't have to be living. Only the trustee needs to be living.
Okay, I just wanted to verify. Yes, you had some
Yeah.
questions yesterday. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Next, Gustavo.
Yes, good
Hi.
afternoon, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon.
I have a couple of questions. Let's
Okay.
start from the certificate of trust. So, are we going to request the taxpayer identification number before going to notarize, right?
Yeah, we are. We're going to do it together. So
Okay.
tomorrow we'll do the ministry trust, EIN. The application process is way different than the other ones. And then on Thursday we'll do the business trust, and Friday we'll do today the family trust. So we'll do it together.
So, we're going to request the number and then to notarize all the papers. So, we
Yes.
don't have
So
to go
we're gonna
twice.
Yeah, so we're going to request the numbers, and then you're going to go ahead and finish putting it inside of the certificate of trust and then get it notarized.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, the next question. Can the trust be set as a perpetual instead of 100 years? Have
Can
you
you
ever
say
done?
that? Can you repeat that again?
Can the trust be set as perpetual instead of 100 years? So my child's 100 years from now don't have the headache to overwrite and do everything again. They just have the power to destroy if they don't want it, but they don't have to redo everything, right? Can that be done? Have you ever heard about that?
Yes. So I've heard of some trusts being like infinite.
Mhm.
Where it doesn't expire. But I haven't seen that type of trust. I don't know if that, I don't think that that type of trust is applicable here, domestically in the US, because with a living entity, you have to have a beginning and an end. But when you go to renew the trust, you don't have to redo everything. So there's nothing that they have to do other than so there's two things, right? You can either do an extension and you just renew or extend it, or you can reinstate it. So meaning that all of the meeting minutes from the last 100 years, you can now create a new trust embedding the new changes or amendments, and then reinstate it to what it is supposed to be with the amendments.
Okay, okay. So the next question. Let's say that my mom is the grantor. We, myself and my brothers are the trustees, right? And the beneficiary will be our kids. We want to set a protector in case one of us, the trustee, fail. But the best one I can think about is my mom. I don't have my dad already, so is the only one that I see she could fit that position. So can we, the trustees, name my mom as a protector, even consider she was the grantor?
No,
No?
it's
Okay.
it's a conflict of interest. So one, because the trust is irrevocable, the grantor can never hold any other position, only a grantor. Two,
Okay.
the protector cannot be related to the trustees. Your mom is related to you. So the
Okay.
protector has to be a person who's not related by marriage or by blood. So it can't even be your spouse. So it has to be someone like way out there that you trust. Yeah, like a best friend or a neighbor or someone who's really indifferent and is not going to be one-sided and is not going to be flexible with having to make sure that you're operating legally.
Okay. Thank you very much. That accelerates a lot of things.
You're welcome, Gustavo. And who do we
Mhm.
have next? Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia. How are you?
They're doing great.
All right. I see you're on the ocean. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
girl.
Pensacola.
Okay. Nice.
I think Deontay asked the first part of my question. So I know that the grantor, the same person can be grantor in more than one trust.
Correct.
Okay, so can that same person hold another position in another trust? Like say if they are the grantor in the ministry trust, can they serve as treasurer in the business trust?
If they don't have like a position in the ministry trust, and yeah, there's no conflict of it. So you have to understand that these are separate entities. It's not that your business trust is related to your ministry trust. They're
Okay.
separate entities. Just think of it as separate businesses,
Okay.
right? So that's why it's not a problem to have the same grantor for the business and the family, because they're separate entities and you have to treat it as such.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I had a question.
You're welcome. We're going in line, Michael.
Oh, sorry.
Do you mind? Okay, you want to put your hand up? Do you know how to put your hand up?
I don't. That's why I said
Okay. Let me see if I can put your hand up.
If you hit command, well, on Max, if you hit option Y, it'll raise your hand. On a PC, I believe it's function Y, but I could be wrong.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All
Michael out
right.
here.
I'll
Thank
try
you.
it.
Thank you, Mike. All
Michael
right.
out
So
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay, who's next? Okay, Dr. T is next. Let's go, Dr. T.
Yes, I'm super excited once again. Thank you so much, and I
Thank you.
love and appreciate you.
Thank
Just confirming the grantor does not have to be living. So I have a special family, the DaCosta sisters, Paciencia and Sapphire. Their mom just recently passed. And I mean, like literally last month. And we were doing the whole purpose was to do this for them. So we can still make her the grantor. Is that correct?
No. So the grantor needs to be living at the moment that the trust is established, but they don't have to remain living once the trust is established.
Oh.
The trust is designed to outlive you, to outlive the grantor, but the grantor needs to sign. So they need to be a
Okay.
living, breathing person that signs.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I heard you say somebody didn't have to be living, so that's I'm glad I can reconfirm that.
Yeah, so
If-
that person, I just want to repeat it. So the person was saying, when the grantor dies, do we need to assign a new grantor? No, you don't, because the trust is already established and the trust is already designed to outlive pretty much everyone, right? The trust is going to
right, for
outlive
100 years.
the
Right.
grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiaries. So you don't have to stay living, but the entity is already in existence and operating.
Okay, so that brings me to my second question for confirmation. Okay, so we established a trust this year and we had expenses prior to the trust being notarized. Are we able to use some of those expenses towards the trust? You know how you was bragging being in Dubai and Egypt, our favorite place, right? Are
You,
we able to do, I know, because I love, we were just
yeah.
there. Are we able to use, if you establish your trust, let's just say for these folks in December, but you had expenses that were prior, are we able to finesse, in the words of Marcus, some of those expenses with the trust?
So, I would tell you, yes, but I really want to direct you to your CPA and your tax preparer, because I don't know how critical the dates are, because when they're, preparing it, I don't know if they say, hey, these expenses were for the year 2023, or if it's that specific to the where they say, oh, it was spent in April, but it was established in December. So from what I know, based on my experience, it just goes by the year that the expenses were, not the month.
Right. And that's why I was getting that confirmation, because it's almost like when you have a child or when you get married. Based on when that time frame is, you have an opportunity to still claim that. And I
Yeah.
want to see if that would still be applicable with the trust. So we got our CPA that's going to be coming to speak to everybody. And I just want to know if you knew that. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. Yeah, I definitely say do your due diligence, verify. I'm not a tax preparer, but I think that it is based on the year and not on the month that the expenses took place. So thank you for that, Dr. T. And who do we have next? Be Your Own Bank is next.
Good day to you all, family, and good day to
Hi,
you, Miss Christina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful today. I love the second day. It's full of information, and so I had a couple of questions.
Okay.
And right now, I'm in the process of like creating my contracts with the corporate structure. As far as like, I'm gonna just use one for example, like birth certificates or certificates of live birth, and I want to create my own certificate of live birth. I wanted to know if, well, I haven't done it completely yet, but since we're doing the trust right now and filling them out, I wanted to know, can birth certificates go into the trust?
Yeah, birth certificates are considered assets, marriage certificates are considered assets, and you can put them into the trust, yes.
Okay. And also, you mentioned something about beneficiaries cannot be board members. I wanted to
Correct.
know what else beneficiaries cannot be part of, so there's no conflict of interest.
Beneficiaries cannot be anything but beneficiaries. But
Okay.
beneficiaries, except, you can have a beneficiary be, a trustee, or a successor, but they cannot be the sole beneficiary. So if you only have one beneficiary, that's it. That's their only position. But if you have multiple beneficiaries, one of them or two of them can at least be a trustee or a, successor.
So like a trustee, a co-trustee, a successor. What else did you say? Okay, I get that. And then my last question is, I've been noticing um on the internet, there's someone that was mentioning about how trusts are not private because once you register your EIN and fund it is with a bank, and that's considered, with the corporate structure what we're trying to be protected from. Is that true that your trust is not private once you utilize the EIN number?
So you have to understand there's a difference between private and then with knowing of the existence of the entity. So does the IRS know of the existence of the entity? Yes. But does the IRS know the contents of the entity, the net worth of the entity, or the people associated with the entity? No. But when you are applying for your EIN, the only issue is that you do have to label yourself as the trustee. So that's where, so your contract is still private, but you are now letting it be known to the IRS that you're the trustee of that trust.
Okay,
And
so
the same thing goes for, and
the identity, so that's what it is. So with me wanting to remain private, sorry,
you
we
going,
create these entities.
going in.
Yeah, we create these entities so that we can remain on the private side of law or jurisdiction. But then once we attach our names to it, then that eliminates us from that being private.
So the thing is, and we had mentioned it here, is that nobody knows what's inside of your trust, but unfortunately, there are situations where you do have to disclose who you are for need to know basis. And so you have to disclose, that you're the trustee. Or see, the thing is that a trust can't operate itself. It needs a human to back it up to actually carry out the task. So so you have to disclose that you're the trustee and that you actually have the power to execute the thing that needs to be done for the entity. So that's one of the issues. And to be very honest, I don't see how you can go around it. There's so there's a couple ways that you could work around it, which is And I use this. So instead of disclosing your social security because they're tracking you, right? So what you can do is you can apply for a sole prop number, and then now instead of using yourself, you can use your sole prop as that entity. Okay.
Okay, yes, that's some really, really good information. Thank you for that.
You're
Ms.
welcome. The only other thing that you can do as well is if you don't want to apply for an EIN, you can apply for a 98 number. I'm not going to show you how to apply for a 98 number because you have to actually manually, physically fill out the form and then call them. And then you also need a foreign address, right? So outside of the United States. So if you qualify or if you have any of those things, then I can provide you with the instructions and you can go and apply for a 98 number versus an EIN, but it's still a 9-digit number with the IRS.
Got you. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. What was your name again?
Oh, my apologies. My name is Farasha.
Rasha. Okay,
Yes.
yes. All right. And Myra, how are you, Myra? Myra, you're on mute. I can't hear you if you're talking. Myra, are you available? All right, we're gonna move on to Brian. Hey, Brian.
How you doing?
Hey.
Two questions. I remember you saying earlier that beneficiaries cannot have positions of power within a trust. So because of that, I'm wondering if they're able to create a trust underneath the parent trust to then be beneficiaries to get paid through that, but still have positions of power in the parent trust, if that makes sense.
You can create an entity for the beneficiary and have that entity be the beneficiary instead of the natural person. Yes.
Okay. So then inherently the beneficiaries in the parent trust will become the trust for the children. That way they can be trustees and not beneficiaries within the parent trust and still kind of have the finesse of both, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. My next question is, what are some professionals that we should have a part of the trust, like lawyers, CPAs, etc.?
Yeah, we mentioned them. So it depends on you and your organization. If you need a bookkeeper, if you need an accountant or a CPA, if you need an attorney on retainer, if anybody wants to sue your entity, if you need a financial advisor to grow your assets, if you need a real estate investor or broker, not investor, but agent or broker, so it's pretty much like the same thing as like a corporation or LLC, right? What is it that you need in order to run that type of entity, right? Or in order to run yourself too.
Okay. I think there was another question I have, but I can't think of it right now, so I'm just gonna end it at that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Brian. All right. Myra, are you available? Because we couldn't hear you. I'm not sure if it's your audio. It says connecting to audio, but you're on mute. Let me see if I can ask to unmute. I can't. I'm not sure if you're not able to unmute yourself. And I can't unmute you. But I put ask to unmute. All right. Deontay.
Yes, my question was in reference to the Schedule C, or I'm sorry, Schedule D. And so say if my mom is a trustee, correct, and her life insurance plan that she already has prior to this being set up, she would then place that under there, correct, with all her information if she wants the trust to be a beneficiary of or like death penalty or something of that nature?
Yeah, so she's gonna list it on the Schedule B. So put all the information for the policy, meaning who the carrier is, who the insured is, and the policy number. And then
Mm-hmm.
on the schedule, what is it D? On the Schedule
Mm-hmm.
D, then she's going to put in the event that the policy is still active and the trust is terminated. So let's just say next year, right? If next year, if the trust is terminated and her policy is still active, who does she want that information to be transferred to because it's owned by the trust? So she can put who she wants to be the new owner and beneficiary. But keep in mind that she has to do all the paperwork with the insurance carrier, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she has to contact them. Usually it's like 3, 4, 5 pages that she has to fill out. And because like right now, if she set it up the way that I think she did, she's listed as the owner and she probably has her children as the beneficiaries.
Probably, yeah, correct. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next question is like when setting up like the board members, like the best way to kind of delegate tasks, like how would you kind of go about that in the sense you kind of just go about who's the best at what? Basically, it's me and my sister for the most part that's kind of curating this, and then I'd have my other siblings, which is probably like 6 or 7 of them, but we put them under. Is like that how it works? Would they still be board members, or is just the main people who are making decisions the board members?
No, so the board members it's definitely going to be you and your sister if you guys are the trustee, and then whoever you appoint. So if you're going to appoint your siblings, then you want to put them in positions that they qualify for, right? So
Hmm.
if your brother is not good with math, you don't want him to be the treasurer, right?
Right.
So
Hmm.
whoever, you go based off of their strengths and go from there. But there's no real like restrictions other than them having to be an adult, right? We're not going to put a child in that position, and then them having the actual desire to be in that appointed position.
Okay, perfect. And then my sister and me, she would be the co-trustee, correct? And that's like the next person in power, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so
And
that's
you
good.
said,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
shows she could be the co-trustee or the secondary trustee. So you're the first trustee or the founder trustee. You're going to appoint her to be your secondary trustee or co-trustee, your co-pilot.
Got you. And then you can see, I heard you mention that then you can have is more than 2, correct?
Unlimited.
Co-trustees. Unlimited. Okay.
Unlimited.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Myra, are you available? Not sure. Okay. All right. Dr. T.
Mine is super quick. So I heard the other person was talking about, well, we operate under sole proprietorship to hide our social security number. We teach our mentees to do the same thing. Don't use your personal, use sole proprietorship and you're able to establish billing under that particular proprietorship. And then also, if you're going to do that, LLC yourself. And then that way you have dual, one for your LLC name and one for your name that's a sole proprietor. But in moving forward, I'm actually working on our foreign entity at this moment for our trust. And I have established, but it's so crazy trying to get through for that 98 number. I already have my Taiwan address and everything. What is the workaround on that when we're dealing with the foreign entity portion of trying to get that 98 number?
Is patience.
Like I've called like 3 times.
That's
It's
not
crazy.
enough. That's not enough.
It is insane.
I've
It
I,
is
I've heard 10 times, 20 times, like I've heard going through the whole application process and being denied. Like it's
correct.
patient.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't insane when I was doing that process because I'm like,
Oh,
what the
yeah.
heck am I doing wrong? I'm thinking I'm doing wrong because as we move forward in helping folks get foreign entities, okay, I want to make sure that I'm doing the process correctly myself. So I thought maybe I was doing something wrong because it was 3 times and I was just like, this is insane.
Yeah. No. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you so
patient.
much.
You're welcome.
Sylvia can attest to that. It's been insane. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're welcome. Gustavo.
Yes. Wonder if Michael wanna take speak before me. He have been waiting for a long time. I don't know.
Michael? Oh,
But
Myra. Yeah, I don't know.
okay,
I don't,
Michael has some question before, but okay.
Michael? I don't see Michael. Oh, Mike. Oh,
Mm,
Mike. Oh, I'm so sorry. My goodness. His hand wasn't raised. I totally forgot.
yes.
Mike.
I come before after.
Oh, thank you, Gustavo. That is awesome. Mike, you're on mute.
Okay. I appreciate that, Gustavo.
Thank you
But
so much.
Tamara answered my question. I was asking because I got confused when you were stating that the grantor had to be living when we established the trust.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
grantor needs to be living. Yeah. And it
And-
actually needs to be signed and be in front of a notary and breathing, everything.
right. Okay, so that was one of them. I'll get some more questions later.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yes. All right. Next we have Gustavo.
Yes. So I asked two persons to if they handle trust in terms of taxes, and they deny me, right? So you always said that we only had to file the 1041. Is just that what we have to do for the trust in terms of IRS level?
In terms of the IRS, the only thing that you have to do is a 1041. So just like, for example, with us as an individual, what do we have to do? We have to do a 1040, right?
Yes.
As an individual, as a person, as us being a living entity, the only thing that we have to do for the IRS is a 1040. So for the trust, the only thing that that entity has to do is a 1041. So, so we have, you can either go to the IRS and put in 1041 to take a look at it, or you can go to the resources that we have available so you can see what it looks like for the 1041. But yeah, that's the only thing.
Okay. The second question would be, yesterday I was checking on the PO box on the postal office, and it's like $40 versus the one that you are sharing with
Recommended.
us.
Yeah, it's like
Uh-huh.
$7, $8. Yeah.
Yes. How is it? Do you like the digital version or the new thing?
I do. So there's two things that I want to say about it. The first thing is if you're going to use a PO box, the IRS doesn't accept PO box addresses. So if you're going to apply for your EIN number, they're not going to accept the PO box address, so you're going to have to use another address, and unfortunately you don't want to use your personal address. So my number one recommendation is a virtual address. The way the virtual address works is you sign up with a virtual address company, you pick an address either in your state or your city, and then they are going to ask you for proof of identification that you're able to receive mail for this entity and that you agree to the terms of service. And then once you do that, they're going to forward everything. So you're going to have this virtual address for your trust, and then all of the correspondence for the trust is going to be forwarded to a, secret address that you choose that only the virtual address company knows. And they're going to forward it everywhere. So in the public or outside, you are using this, commercial location address, but they are going to be forwarding it to your home. So it's going to go to them, and then from them, they're going to forward it to you, or sometimes you can go to a physical location and pick it up. But yes, I do like the company, and they're very convenient. And they provide other services other than virtual address.
Okay, that's great. Two more. Someone before me said about the birth certificate being an asset and we can put it in the trust. Does it mean that the child tied to that birth certificate is also protected and go under the rules of the trust? I hear some things related to that, and I wonder if
Yeah, yes. Honestly, it's hard to say. Like, I can't say yes or no. It's hard to say. And the reason why is because, like, the reason why the birth certificate is a trust is because it's backed by, by securities with the United States of America, a corporation. So that's why it's considered an asset, because it's a contract. But the individual that's associated with that birth certificate, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I really don't know if, like, the actual entity or person is protected by the trust. I've heard of it, just like you. I've heard of it where people are saying, I'm going to put my child inside of the trust, and now they can't come for child support. They can't come for what is it called? CPS, Child Protective Services. I really don't know.
okay,
I really don't know.
appreciate it. So I have addresses outside the US, and I would like if you're gonna share the information about the 1A number, the
Yes,
number.
perfect. Yes,
I would
perfect.
like to
Yeah.
have that.
Yes,
I will-
I will have Aya send it to you. And then she could also so Aya has it, and she'll email it to you, okay?
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Perfect. You're welcome. All right, let's see who's next. Paciencia. How are you?
Hi, how are you guys?
Great, great. Yeah,
Good.
perfect.
I did have a question about so he just asked about the 98 number. I definitely will need that because we have a lot of family outside of the country.
Perfect.
You said that if you want your child to have power, you make them a trustee or a co-trustee, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Another question that I had, if it's a common law trust and we file taxes on it, how do we not disclose the assets within, or not the assets, but the I don't even know how to say it properly, but the value of the trust, the value of it has multiple houses, the
I
value.
mean, you do not have to disclose just because you are required legally to file a 1041 doesn't mean that you are required to disclose disclose the assets. So for example, if you have, a Rolex in there, the IRS doesn't need to know that. If you have an insurance policy, the IRS doesn't need to know that. But the reason being, even though it's a common law trust, if you are earning the US dollar, you have to file taxes. You have to. So with that being said, they are going to be aware of whatever you disclose as income. So as the trustee, you are able to determine what is income and what is not income, even though, even if $1 million came in, but you're saying only 100K is income, then that's what you're going to be taxed on.
Okay. Good to know. The other question I had was, you said officers can sign an agreement of privacy. Where can you find an officer?
So you have to choose, you have to appoint someone to be an officer on your board. So for example, an officer is a secretary. So if you wanted to, you could appoint your best friend to be the secretary on your board of trustees.
Do they have to attend the meetings every year, or can they
They're,
just
they,
oversee documents and prove it?
So they can, so you will invite them. Not everyone attends the meetings, and some can attend virtually. And if there is a vote, they will not be able to vote. they will not be able to vote if they're not in attendance.
Okay, another question, can one person hold multiple positions on a board?
Yes, they can. So if you wanted to have one person serve, a dual role, you can.
You can, okay. And last question, you said you can live in the trust for free as a form of compensation. Can you elaborate a little bit?
No, I said you can live in trust assets. So if there's a house, for example, yeah, not in the trust, so you can, yeah, you can live in trust assets. So, for example, your primary residence, if you're going to put it inside of the trust, you can live in that asset for free. So, and that could be your form of compensation, right? Because you have to be compensated for being the trustee, right? Just like if you have a corporation and you're the CEO and you give yourself a salary, it's the same thing. So if you don't want to be compensated and have to file taxes for your compensation, then you can use other forms of compensation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we have two more people and then we're going to wrap it up. It's almost 2 o'clock. So we have Brian and then we have Farasha.
Okay. First question is, do you have a virtual address company that you would suggest to use to gain that virtual address?
Yes, did you receive the email?
Um,
It's in the email.
Okay, I'll have to go back to these then. So I didn't see, because I checked the document from that you mentioned, and it doesn't have that last page either.
It's in the email. The email that was sent today, it's in the email.
I'm looking at these.
I'll get it
Okay.
to him. Christina,
Okay.
get it to him.
Thank you. And my last question was, if you plan to eventually get an international trust, do you need to have the international trust before you get to roll your domestic trust into an international trust? Do you have to get the international trust and then the domestic, or can you get the domestic one and then roll it into international at a later date?
You can do it at a later date. And so you can always change the trustee and the beneficiary, and you can change them to the international trust at any point in time.
Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. And then we have Farasha. Am I saying your name correctly?
It's Farasha.
Farasha. All right. Awesome.
Yes. And I just wanted to know, where could we find the recordings from yesterday and for today's video meetings?
So it was sent via email.
Okay. All right. I personally haven't received any other emails outside of the first, like when I first purchased the Wealthy Trustee program. I got those series of emails. I haven't even received, like even for today, I got a text message yesterday and today as a reason why I knew, but I was so happy that I was available. I'm like, oh goodness, I was in the middle of driving yesterday, 11 o'clock it was like 11:07 when the text message comes in. And so I kind of joined class just a few minutes late. I was glad that the text message came in, but I have not received any emails.
Okay, so then I'm gonna have to send your information to Aya so that she can add you to the list. So do you mind, what's your name hold on, let me take a look. When you signed up, what is your name that you signed up with?
Farasha Alika.
Let me see.
Maybe it was under Yolanda Murphy.
Oh, I see it here. Okay, all right. So I will send that over to my assistant and then she'll get you all caught up. Okay, my dear?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And you let me know if you have any questions, okay, since you didn't have the resources.
Sure thing.
Okay, all right, sounds good. All right, guys. So we are wrapping it up for right now. So today is day 2 of the Wealthy Trustee program. We are going to be here all week, okay? Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow we are setting up our ministry trust, which is our 508 FBO, faith-based organization, okay? So you are going to receive an email from I am my assistant tomorrow right before the call with the resources that you're going to need, as well as the Zoom link, okay? And then Thursday we are dealing with applying for EINs, board meetings, promissory notes, and establishing trust corporate credit. And then Friday we're doing asset transfer and infinite banking, okay? So I do have homework for you guys. If you're not in the Facebook group, please please apply to be in the Facebook group, okay? So go ahead and join the Facebook group. And if you haven't introduced yourself, introduce yourself. And then the homework for today is that we want you to post why did you decide to become a trustee? So what was the reason that you decided, hey, I need a trust estate, I need to become a trustee, and I need to, protect my assets. So we would love to hear from you guys. So go ahead and join the Facebook group, because there are a lot of people in there that have gone through the process that you guys are going through today, okay? And that is, there's a wealth of knowledge over there and a bunch of resources as well. So I will see you guys here tomorrow on Zoom at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you guys have a blessed and beautiful day. Thank you, guys.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.